Welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV, it's great to have you along. And as you can see, we are slowly getting the ball rolling, 2021. Unfortunately, the ball is not rolling physically at the moment. COVID is out there. We wait for further announcements and we see what happens. But certainly the big thing at the moment is for all of you out there to stay safe, stay healthy, and follow all those health and safety protocols. Of course, you know what they are: to wear a mask, to practice social distancing, and of course to wash your hands regularly. But if the season was on the cards, of course, CPUT would have been in the mix in a big time. In fact, we wait and see what happens. Maybe it's just around the corner. Alastair Theys is the head coach of CPUT. Alastair, nice to have you back on the line, man. Yeah, how are things there with you?
Hi, JB. Firstly, thanks for having me back on the show. Things are going well. We haven't started training this year, though. We still waiting for some of the boys to get back, and obviously the university hasn't allowed us on the premises. Actually, they are tight with the COVID protocols. You know, even though we got our compliance, we're just hanging in there, waiting for them to give us the go to get back onto premises.
Let's just touch on that quickly, Alastair. Just to tell us, what is compliance? Are you talking about compliance in that the clubs go through the compliance protocols with Western Province Rugby?
Yeah, so we went through the whole process of applying for our compliance, which we got last year. Okay, but the and we were supposed to get back in training now on the 4th of Jan. So what we actually advised our boys to do is to come back to Cape Town, quarantine for 10 days, you know, just as a safety measure, and then get the ball rolling. From it was last week, we wanted to start training on Tuesday actually.
Yeah.
But because we went back up to level 3, the university says, look, they first want to sit out another couple of weeks, 2 weeks, and see where the country or the province is going with this virus before they actually allow us back onto the premises. So what we've had to do now is we actually had to, you know, go back into that individualized programs where the Oaks are training on their own.
So yeah, unfortunately, those are the realities, and we have to wait. But all of the clubs, of course, have gone through this process, or are busy going through the process of making sure that they are COVID aware, COVID educated, COVID compliant, and getting certification from Western Province. It's quite a process. I might take my hat off to you guys that have done this. But let's talk a little bit of rugby here. Varsity Cup, 4 universities in Cape Town. I mean, you guys are really making a name for yourself.
Yeah, look, we just can't wait to get back onto the field. You know, we're super excited for this season, even though it might be a different season. You know, fortunately for us, these provisional dates has been put out, which we are working towards, even though we haven't been back here. So there is something to work towards. Planning has been done towards that date. You know, and then we're hoping that we can actually pull it through this season and actually get 4 teams in that Varsity Cup. You know, because we're in the Shield, the other universities are in the Cup. You know, for Western Province, there are 4 teams in the Varsity Cup. That would be awesome. You know, that would be good for rugby overall in the Western Cape.
Yeah, I suppose I keep getting confused between Varsity Cup and Varsity Shield. I just see it all in one big picture, because this was, of course, the year that you needed to, you were in a position to play for promotion, right?
Yes, and we were en route. But just unfortunately, you know, with this pandemic, things never went our way. But everything happens for a reason, you know.
I got to ask you though, if let's just look at some of the continuity there then, because I know you as a coach, you're always looking for consistency, you're always looking for continuity. So if you consider the fact that you came out of 2019 top of the pile, you were ready to give things a go in 2020. Now comes 2021. Of course, players might have moved on with different education and different years in that. How am I right?
Yeah, so that's one of the big challenges going year from year, because you have your players that's too old, so they finish with the degrees or they're 25. Okay. 2, then you have your players who don't qualify for the following year because of the studying factor. You know, and then it's the recruitment side of things, trying to get new players in, you know, and that's actually been a challenge of ours now in the past 2 weeks, because we've realized that, you know, some hasn't made it some of our players last year, their credits, they haven't made it, due to they not been able to pass the exams. But it's also this pandemic that we're in made it challenging for everybody. So that was one of our.
Those are the dynamics of being a coach at a university or educational structure. You've got to adapt to that.
Yeah. So that's variables that we had to play around with in this past 2 weeks. Even though we last year in the off season with the boys training on their own, we had one massive squad and trying to keep in contact with them and the feedback process going. But when we came back now in January, when management touched base and we reconciled with what players we have, what new players got into the university, and who could carry over to the season, we're looking a bit thin, in other words. But that comes with a turf. Lucky for us, we have a core of players who's been here for 3 years, who will be with us this year, that could carry the team.
Yeah. You were, of course, very involved with Jerome Parvarter last year in the coaching courses. Have you got more of that on your horizon for this year?
Yeah, look, whatever courses come up, I try and jump into. But Jerome has also helped us from a CPUT perspective. In our first game last year, Wusu demolished us in our scrums, and Jerome came in for a couple of sessions, and for the rest of the tournament, we were solid. So we're grateful for that aspect as well.
Yeah, it's very difficult to, I suppose, players, people who do sport, they rely on that social interaction. They rely on that on that connection, the ability to get in the car or get on the train, come down to a practice session, and then interact with each other. And that, of course, inspires you to warm up, sprint a little faster, run a little bit quicker, hit the bag a little bit harder. And to do all that when you're locked away at home and you're not allowed to go out, and someone sends you a WhatsApp message to say it's 6 o'clock, you must start training, is maybe a little bit more challenging than we think.
Yeah, look, us as coaches, we kept in contact, right? But it's not the same as you said, that face-to-face contact, And one thing at CPUT, there's a big fierce around the players, So when they're together, you always feel a vibe, and it feeds off into the rest of the university. It feeds off into the coaches, and the boys miss that, because you could see on the interaction in the WhatsApp groups, when they send this message through, and it's a bit heartful, or it's a bit touching that they're missing one another. Nothing to do with rugby. Just 100%. Missing a friend.
100%. Alastair, I'm so glad that you've mentioned this. You've hit the nail on the head. I think that we take that quite seriously here at Cape Rugby, is that we understand that the importance of keeping people socially connected. And I think people out there who maybe just read sport in the newspaper sometimes forget just how critical, like you say, the mental well-being, how critical the role of sport, and of course in our case rugby, is to our population and our people who do it. Yeah. Alastair, we'll leave it at that. We'll say thanks to you for chatting with us, and we're looking forward to catching up again soon. Hopefully things are on track in South Africa in terms of COVID, globally in fact, and we trust that everybody's healthy and safe, and hopefully things just keep getting better and better, and then we'll see CPUT go from the Varsity Shield to the Varsity Cup.
Yeah, we hope so, JP. Thanks for having me on the show, and everything on the best on your side as well.
Thanks, Alastair. There we go, folks. Alastair Theys, head coach at CPUT, and of course head of the academy at Brookside, which is of course part of Western Province Rugby as well. We'll be chatting about that in the weeks to come. Very exciting stepping stone opportunity for everybody in rugby. Folks, don't forget, of course, when we come back from the break, we're going to carry on talking about club rugby, and looking forward to catching up with Aslam Abrams from Vineyards Rugby Football Club. They've been doing some incredible stuff, including over the holidays going out to Paarl and Delft Rugby Football Club. We'll see you in a sec. Don't go away.